Hi, I'm Tracy from the Passionate Spinner podcast. You can find me at Schnüffeltier on Ravelry and Instagram, but today I am going to talk about books. I just filmed a book video about all the things I have read already so far this year, but now I want to talk about all the books I've started this year. And I'm sitting here, at the side of the screen for a very good reason, because this whole shelf cubicle thingy holds all of the books, the physical books I have started. So I'm going to pull them out, talk about them, tell you why I have not finished it yet. And yeah, I just thought that would be a fun idea. So let's do that. The first book in here is Trevor Noah's Born a Crime. And this is simply not finished because I started it 2 days ago. And I have not had time to sit down and read for a lot. I'm not that far in. I love this book already. It's eye-opening. It is so tragic but funny, and just, yeah. The thing that hits me hardest, Trevor Noah is a month younger than me. If he were an 80-year-old, you would say, yeah, sure, his childhood was 80 years ago. But it wasn't. He's my age, exactly my age. So it's an incredible book. You should read this book. It's about Trevor Noah's life. Trevor Noah he has a talk show on American television. He's a very fun and smart man, I think. And it's about his childhood in South Africa, when apartheid was still a thing. And he's mixed race, and that itself was a crime. A white woman and a black man, or the other way around, having a child together was permitted by law and punishable by incarceration. So it's an interesting story. Really, really interesting read. You should definitely read this book. So that's the first thing. And I'm going to continue reading that today. The next book in here is a book called Die bezaubernden Kleider der Miss Delaney. It is a translation, and I'm going to look up the English title because it usually says, English title is The Perfect Dress. And it is from 2019, so it's a very new book. It's a romance book. So Miss Delaney has a not a bookshop. No. She doesn't have a bookshop. She has a shop where she sells second-hand wedding dresses. And she prides herself in always finding the perfect dress for every bride. And I'm not very far into the story, as you can see, so I'm not quite sure yet what's going to happen in this book. But the beginning is okay. The problem for me with this book is it is written in the present tense. I hate books that are written in the present tense. It's the worst kind of book. So it takes some time for me to get into this book. Oh, also, I wanted to talk about bookmarks. Sorry. Let's rewind. I try to find the perfect bookmark for my books. So Trevor Noah's book has my Rey bookmark. I have never seen any Star Wars, but I think she's a fighter. I hope she is. And so is he. So he got the Rey bookmark. In the Miss Delaney book, I have Molly from Sherlock, because she's a hopeless romantic and in love with someone who doesn't love her back. And she's just sweet. And I think that Miss Delaney is sweet as well. These bookmarks I have are from a friend of mine. And she had a shop where she sold these, but she closed her shop down. And so, sorry. But I have lots of them and I love them. Then, also in here is The Story of Classic Crime in 100 Books by Martin Edwards. And I read about 1 chapter a day, and I'm that far in. It's divided by chapters, by categories. So chapter 8 is about capital crimes, and it talks about overall the genre part, and then there's books that belong to that category that are talked about. And the classic crime that is talked about in this book is between the First and Second World War, basically. So it's just an interesting book about books. Now we get into the interesting bits. Because the 3 I showed you so far were all started this year. Now we get into last year and way before last year. So I think I started this book last year. It's Uprooted by Naomi Novik. And I'm halfway. It's a book about a young girl that gets whisked away to the Tower of the Dragon, who's basically just a man, a magician, sorcerer, wizard, whatever. But they call him the Dragon. And she has to live there and work with him and for him, basically as a maid. And he does that every year, every few years. I'm not quite sure. But he comes every few years and takes one of the girls with him, basically as a tribute to him, so he will keep them safe from the forest. And yeah, I'm halfway there. It's not really calling my name, let's say it like that. Then this one I've started years ago. It's a book called Das bisschen Mord by Michelle Kelly. It is a translation. I'll check the original name. Wait. I forgot the bookmarks again. Oh, jeez. So, the history of classic crime has a bookmark I made with my students a million years ago. Uprooted has an ER bookmark, I'm pretty sure. Yes. It says Maria, because that's my middle name. There's a tidbit you didn't know about me. Now, Michelle Kelly's book. It's a cozy mystery. The title is Murder at the Yoga Cafe. So it's basically about this girl. Her name is Keely, and she comes back to her hometown and opens a yoga cafe. Because she loves having a cafe, and she's a great cook and baker, and she also is a yogi. So she has a cafe and she does some yoga classes. And of course, the local detective is very hot and very, very much into her. And this is the second book in the series, and the mayor of the city ends up dead. And she starts investigating, despite her boyfriend telling her to not do that because it's basically his job. And she, with her sleuthing, tells him that she can do his job better than he can. And I'm just not very sure if I like Keely. I like him. His name is Ben, is it? Yes. I like him a lot. I do not like her. But as it's a detective story, it has Sherlock Holmes in it. Yeah. I will finish this book at some point, but it's not right now. So, let's continue. This book is The Elemental Assassin, book number 2 by Jennifer Astap. It's called Spinnentanz. The English original title is... What is it? Where is it? Web of Lies. It's called Web of Lies by Jennifer Astap. I have read a lot of her books. I read the whole Frost series, and I started the Elemental Assassins series, and I have like 4 or 5 of them, and they're like 15. So I have a lot of books to go. And this is about a woman called Jin Blanco, and she's known as the Spider, and she has been an assassin, but she doesn't want to do that anymore. And the first book deals with her wanting to get out of that assassin business. And the second book, what was it? Oh, and she's also a magician, sorceress of some sort. She inherits a restaurant by her mentor, because he was killed in the first book, which was a spoiler, sorry. But somebody else gets killed in her restaurant, or somebody tries to kill someone in her restaurant. And because she's an assassin, she cannot let that happen. So this is what this book is about. And it has Batman in it because she's kind of a vigilante now that she's not an employed assassin anymore. It's good. Now, next up we have Discovery of Witches without its sleeve because I have no idea where I put it. Probably it's up there. I'm about halfway done with the first book in the Discovery of Witches series by Deborah Harkness. I'm reading the German version, and it's a good book. I kind of lost interest in it, but I do want to finish the series, so I will definitely go back to this one. This is about Diana, I think her name is Diana, and she's a witch, and that is very known from the start, but she doesn't want to have anything to do with the witch world. She's a historian, and she goes to Oxford to study something, or is it Cambridge? One of those two. And she wants to research some things for an upcoming book she's writing, or a paper or something. And while she's there, she gets a hold of a book, and it's super interesting to her. She hands it back in, doesn't think a lot about it. And it turns out later that that book has been lost to the magical world for hundreds of years. She's the first one to ever lay eyes on it, and she was able to open it as well, which is super rare. And then a lot of magical beings start turning up, and she starts bonding with a vampire who's been working for the university, and his name is Matthew, and they kind of start seeing what's going on and working together. And yeah, like I said, I'm halfway there. Not quite sure what's going to happen next, but I do like it. It's a good read. I just stopped and didn't find my way back. The next book is another translation. It's the Shadow Falls After Dark book number 2 in the trilogy. It's called Unter dem Nachthimmel. It's by C.C. Hunter, and it is a follow-up book series to another book series that she has written before. So original title is Eternal, and this is Shadow Falls After Dark, and the first 5-book series is called Shadow Falls Camp, and this follows one of the main characters from the first series after the first series ended. So these books are about Della, who's a vampire. And yeah, this is book 2 in the trilogy. I read the first one, of course. I have the third one, and I actually really enjoy it. But this kind of used to be my in the bathtub book. And then I think when we got Loki, I had to take my book out of the bathroom because my bathroom is set up so that I have like a toilet, and then there's half a wall, and then there's the bathtub. And on that wall, I have my book, which isn't a problem, but with a kitten, it was a problem because I did not want him to throw my book in the toilet. So I took it out and never picked it back up again ever since. So I really want to finish this one soonish because I'm relatively close. You know, I'm definitely 2/3 done. So yeah, this is great. But I don't know what to tell you about it because it's a sequel to a different series. So all I can tell you is that it is about a vampire. I cannot tell you more. And in here I have this bookmark, which is one of the oldest bookmarks I have. I love bookmarks. I really want to get some new bookmarks. Good. Next up, finally, an English book. It's called Miss Mayhem. It is the second book in the Rebel Bell trilogy by Rachel Hawkins. I read Rebel Bell when Tim was a tiny baby in one day. I really loved it. And I started Miss Mayhem right away. And then I got into reading slump and haven't touched it since. So this is basically nothing. I'm on page 38, chapter 5. And I have absolutely no clue what happened so far. So I'm probably, when I'm going to pick this back up, have to restart the book. And I need to find a good short version of what happened in Rebel Bell, because I don't quite remember. But I really want to finish this. And I do not have Lady Renegades, which is the third book in the series. I need to get that. And in here, I just have a generic bookmark. Nothing special. But the Rebel Bell series trilogy is a really fun one. It's a young adult series, you know. It's fun. But like I said, I'm not quite sure anymore what it was about. So I have to check that. Then we have Stephen King's On Writing, which is a memoir, and I got to page 26. So I cannot tell you a whole lot about it. I'm guessing it's about Stephen King's life and how he came to be a writer. I do like Stephen King's books. I don't always agree with what he says. I haven't read the Stephen King book in a very long time, but The Green Mile is one of my all-time favorites. And in here, I have a bookmark that I got in a yarn club. And it is a Sherlock Holmes bookmark. And I just thought, you know, famous detective, famous writer, just kind of goes together. The next book is another hardbound translated book. It is The Cuckoo's Calling by Robert Galbraith, which is J.K. Rowling. And I have 4 of the Cormorant Strike books. And I plan on reading all of them because I already own them and I already paid the money for them. If I will get more of them, I'm not sure I will. Or I probably won't, because J.K. Rowling is not a very nice person. And she's not a very inclusive thinking person, and I don't like that. So I'm going to read the books I own. I will not buy more of them. So this is the first book in the Cormorant Strike series by Robert Galbraith. I'm about a fourth into the story. It's a really good one. I have to say, it's a good book. I enjoyed what I have read so far, but I kind of just stopped. I'm not sure why, again. So Cormorant Strike is a private detective. He used to be an army policeman, something like that. Now he's a private detective, and his assistant, it starts basically with the assistant looking for a job and then coming into his agency and then starts working for him. And a famous starlet ends up dead, and everyone thinks it's suicide because she fell out of a window, or it's, you know, an accident. But either a brother of hers, a friend of hers, someone thinks it was murder. So they start investigating. And I'm that far into the book. Next up, we have Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race by Rainey Eddo Lodge. I am not very far into it. I started reading this book. I think I read it before we went on our last vacation before COVID happened. And I just didn't pick it back up until now. But I really want to, because I think it's a very important book to read. So I want to finish this within the next few weeks. It starts with a history about racism in England and about, you know, how you cannot say all of slavery and stuff. That only happened in America, because it didn't. And this is an interesting book so far, but I cannot tell you a whole lot about it because I've only reached page 36, and in here I have an Obama bookmark. So then the next book is one that I just picked up and read for, I think, one session after lunch, and it's called Swindled: From Poison Sweets to Counterfeit Coffee, The Dark History of the Food Cheats, and it's by B. Wilson. And I mean, this is just perfection in a book. It's about food. It's about what can go wrong with food and what people deliberately did to food to make it go wrong. And it's about history. So this is a super interesting book. Like I said, I only started it. I'm on page 18. Not really anything to say. But it has my absolute oldest bookmark. I've had this since I was like 15. And I love it. Yeah, this is just one of those pick it up, read a few pages, put it back in the shelf kind of books. Then the next book I have started is called Ikigai, The Japanese Secret to a Long and Happy Life by Hector Garcia and Francis Morales. I'm not quite sure, I'm sorry. I started this. I'm on page 22. And I have this bookmark in there, which is from a bookmark calendar that I got from my sister-in-law as a gift. And it says, motivation's gone. All I have left is tired, or something similar. Yeah, I'm not far into this book. So far it's been interesting to see and to read about, but I cannot tell you a whole lot about it. Now, only 2 left. We're getting there. And I'm only talking about physical books because there's ebooks and audiobooks as well, but we will ignore those. Now, the second to last book I have started is Spin the Dawn. I started this last year while at the local pool, and I remember that. And it is about a woman called Maya, and this is a fantasy novel. It's a YA fantasy novel that is basically taking part in a like an old version of China, not a real version of China. And she wants to be the tailor to the new queen. But as she's a woman, she's not allowed to be a tailor. So she pretends to be her father or her brother. She cuts her hair and binds her breasts, and she goes on into this competition for finding the new tailor. And that's basically as far as I am in the story. As you can see, it's not very far. It is a duology. The second book is called Unravel the Dusk. The book is by Elizabeth Lim. And I do have the second book as well. And in here, you know, just because cuts her hair, pretends to be a male relative. I have Mulan in here because, I mean, I could not find a better bookmark for this book. So that is Spin the Dawn. Another book I really want to finish. I just haven't been in a fantasy or YA mood, so I didn't read this. And then the last book I have started is a German kids book, like a middle grade. It's called Das Cloudland auf der Spuren der Nebelfee by Stefan Seitz. It's a German book by a German author, so there's no translation. There's no original title for you. I have 3 of those. Yes. I'm not sure if it's a trilogy or if there's more, but I do have 3 of those books. And I just started. You know, I don't have a whole lot in here. And in there is Dean Winchester, because this is going to be a fun ride, and Dean is all down for that. So I cannot tell you what this is about because I basically read the first 10 pages. It was on a day, I remember when I started this, I started 2 other books, and I remember reading just the first chapter in each of those 3 books, and I'm still just on the first chapter of this one, and I think the other one was that, and I can't remember the third. I probably finished that one, but yeah, that is what I do sometimes. And I just, yeah, this is how far I got on that book. So these are all the books I have started. I want to finish some of them in the near future, but not all of them, because I'd rather start new ones. And I can, because I'm the boss of me. And yeah, let me know if you've read any of these, or if you have any opinions about these books. And like I said in the last video, I hope to be back with some fiber artsy content in the near future, but I cannot promise it because we're still in lockdown, because we're still in a pandemic. and I have no idea what's going to happen. So I hope you all have a wonderful time. Enjoy everything you do. Bye.